Why, hello there, and welcome to A Reason to Talk, hosted by me, Anjuli. And I'm going to be real with y'all. I am going to attempt to make our first 30-minute episode, and I have been attempting every other previous episode. I've actually recorded about 3 other episodes before this, and they are only like 15 minutes long. It's really hard to talk for 30 minutes when it's just you, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. This is hard to do, but I'm up for the challenge. What are we talking about this week? Yes. I wanted to talk about the ways that I have been managing my mental health in this quarantine. Let's get real. 2020 has been a time, and I feel like a lot of us are just going out of our minds at this point. Our money is just, who even knows? The state of political climate is just, who even knows? Nothing is where it's supposed to be, and it's all utterly confusing, and we are all stressed out of our minds. But you know what? I have found a way. I personally have found a way to take care of myself despite all of the chaos. And I will tell you right now, I don't really make any money at all, unless it's from my OnlyFans. So if you want to sign up for my OnlyFans, it's onlyfans.com/Anjuli. I'm surprised by how smoothly that came out of my mouth. But no, I don't make a lot of money, so I have had to find ways to manage my mental health without spending money, really. I don't know why I thought I was going to get fancy with that description, but yeah, without spending money, how do I take care of myself? And actually, I don't want to say without spending money, without spending a lot of money, how do I take care of myself? So, one of the first things that when I was writing out the outline for this episode, I'm just going to read the statement, honestly, that I wrote down. I don't know why. Sometimes I just don't. Anyway, the statement I wrote down was, I've managed to take care and maintain myself by taking the time for me the way I always imagined my perfect lover would. And this is not to say that, I'm going to break up with Randy and go on the pursuit of this. This is purely a blueprint on how I want to be treated. So why not treat myself that way? That's really what it comes down to, is why not be my own perfect lover? And with that is how I've been managing my mental health. How great is that? When you love yourself, your mental health thrives. And even when it's not thriving, you love yourself enough to coddle and take care of yourself until it snaps back again. Can I get an amen? So I will say, with a 30-minute long podcast, it does give me more time to put in my personality. So if you've ever wondered who I am in real life, this is how a phone call would go. You would get to talk not at all, and I would talk all the time, and I would talk like this. So awesome. Anyway, so one of the first things that I started doing actually about last year, but really, really got into this year, was journaling. Journaling has been chef's kiss because it makes me have to learn how to communicate with myself in a way that I don't communicate with anybody else. And I think that that's perfectly fine, honestly. I have very poor communication skills when it comes to myself. It's not that I'm not honest with myself. It's just I'm more or less like, why even talk about that right now? Like, let's just move on and do something else. I'm very much like a bury the issue kind of person. Unless it's going to become a bigger issue later, then I'm like, well, we'll just put a Band-Aid on it, figure out what we can do short term, and then move on. But having a journal has allowed me to really just focus on really what's important. It makes me go, is this something we need to fix right now? Is this something that even needs to be fixed? Is this something we could just move on with? Like, let's communicate with each other here. Let's talk to each other. Let's build this trust with each other, because it's also helped me gain a lot of trust with myself. And I guess I'll get into that in a second. But it makes me face things as almost as if I'm facing them with a friend. Because basically I'm having a conversation with myself instead of just thinking about these things, if you get what I'm saying. So it's almost like when they tell you to like talk to yourself in a mirror and tell yourself like you are beautiful, you are great. It's kind of one of those things that's different when it's actually out there than when you just let it sit in your head. I mentioned earlier that this helps me gain a lot more trust in myself. Intuition. You want to get great intuition so you can start taking care of yourself a little bit better. You need to have more trust in yourself, and you need to trust that you can take care of yourself and that you know what is best for yourself. And in the past, I just didn't have that because I wasn't really consulting myself. I was honestly consulting other people. And unfortunately, with quarantine, we are in a lot of isolation and we are alone, a lot more alone than a lot of us have ever been in our lives. And unfortunately, we need to learn how to become a bit more self-reliant on ourselves and our own intuition. And by journaling, I've really been able to go, oh, you're right. That is a silly thing for me to get upset with. Or, oh, yeah, I'm upset. But honestly, I'm fine if like, that's probably just like a one-off thing that I'm really upset about. Or, nah, this is a big deal and we need to figure out how to fix this. How do we fix this? And it's just nice to also have like a place to put my feelings so that I'm not just spewing them all over the internet or all over unsuspecting friends. It's nice to be able to cultivate with that relationship with myself. So I suggest, journal. What? Journals could be, you could just get a notebook, that could be like $1, unless notebook prices have gone up since I went to school shopping. But, journaling, think about that. The next thing that I recognize that I do is I take the time to beautify my spaces. I have mentioned this in YouTube videos before for sure. And probably in passing, but I have a hard time feeling at home anywhere because I said it before, I have a really hard time with feeling like I am supposed to be anywhere. And so I needed to, for my own mental health, I did not realize how much of a boost it would be to feel like I was in my own home. And I'm laughing because just like how weird or broken, I don't know. It's just, oh yeah, of course you'll feel safer and better in your own home than you would if you're feeling like you're staying at a stranger's place. Like, I don't know. It just sounds so obvious, but it just I guess I never really understood how to make a place feel beautiful for me and more homely for me. So like even in this podcast room is actually set up for Same Old Devils podcast. But I obviously, since all of the equipment and stuff is in this room, this is where I record my podcast episode. And I will say, at first, when I was recording my podcast episode, I was a little like, oh my God, I'm touching this stuff. That's, I know that I'm allowed to touch it, but it doesn't feel like it's mine. It doesn't feel like it's in my space. It feels like, it belongs to a different project. It feels like it belongs to something else when I'm at free reign to use this stuff as much as anybody else that lives here is. You cannot come to my house and use my equipment. It would make me very, very make me feel very unsafe. Anyway, so I was like, how do I amend that situation? And just spur of the moment, I brought some candles in here and I started lighting them. I had my cup of tea. Just a couple days ago, I drew the blinds, and so now there's sunlight pouring into here, and it suddenly feels more homely. It feels more mine. It feels like if I were to set up a room for me to record, this is what I would want it to feel like. And that has made a load of difference in my life. Just taking the time to make a space more beautiful and more receptive to me. When I go at night, when it's time for me to wind down and stuff like that, I take the time to light a candle, turn on New Girl, and grab a blankie, have my glass of tea, my dogs all cuddle me, and I play Animal Crossing. It's just a nice feeling of, if I were to be home, this is what it would feel like. And then lo and behold, then this becomes my home. All of a sudden I do feel at home. And so I taking the time, and that's what I'd want my lover to do. I want my lover to want these spaces to feel like my home. And that, I mean, taking that time to do that has helped tremendously, like just stupendously. I can't even begin to describe how nice it is to just, I clean my house. I'm such a neat freak, to be honest. Like, there are times when my house just falls to the wayside, but really that's very rare. I want things to smell good. I want my floors, I want to be able to walk on them barefoot and not feel like I'm just trapping all this dirt in my feet creases. I want to, I love feeling like I'm a Virgo. I love feeling like I'm in a clean, homely space, and taking the time to clean, every other day. Really, it's like that much because I'm just so obsessive. Taking the time to light the candles, taking the time to make sure that the bed is made in the morning, to draw the blinds. It has all contributed to a healthier mental space for me, because I guess when your space is beautiful, your mind is beautiful. Put that on your Instagram as a quote. I'm giving y'all some gems tonight. I mix the word today and tonight together. Anyway, so, and this next point kind of ties into that. Creating just for me. When I talk about creating just for me, this also ties into my Instagram account. So I had completely, we already went through the story. I completely deleted everything on my Instagram account, said I was only going to make content that meant something to me. And a lot of that was because I was just feeding a machine for the sake of just feeding a machine. And I lost my drive and my love for creation. So by rededicating myself to creating just for me and using these things almost as just outlets, as opposed to like, my entire way of being, where it was reliant on somebody else's approval constantly, even if I have to make, compromises, that is so much better than before when I was just feeding the machine. Right now, I'm just creating for me, and it's so nice because I have an outlet again. I have freedom to just mess up, to take my time, to just express myself. Even, I know that there are a couple of videos that I have up on YouTube, or not YouTube. Well, there are some very embarrassing videos of me on YouTube, but that I have no access to, so that sucks. But I mean, on Instagram, there are some videos of me singing, and I love singing. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star so bad, and if anybody wants to give me a chance to be a rock star, I'll jump on that train any day. But I just love singing, and I had stopped singing for, a couple months, which is a very long time for me, especially when I basically came out the womb singing. And when I started singing again, and I don't even record it. I just run around and sing to my dogs. I make parodies of songs and dedicate it to my dogs. I sing about hot dog water, just goofy and sometimes serious, fun stuff. I feel like I have an outlet. I feel like I have a way to spark my inner child that really gets absorbed and darkened by my mental health. And in quarantine, I think that we're all coming to realize that we have been putting up with us being a part of a machine for way too long. We've all been feeding this beast, and we've abandoned so much of the things that we love because, oh my God. So when quarantine started, everybody was just, what do I do now? I don't have a job. I'm not talking about the panic of less amount of money, but people were like, what do I do at this time now? And then other people were like, yo, you got to pick up a hobby now. Us self-employed people, we were like, well, guess you got to go and make art. Like you said, you always would want to do if you could do it, and I'm not slamming anybody. I'm not saying anything negative. I mean, it's just, that's the reality of the situation though. A lot of the things that we abandoned for this machine, imagine if you could just, not even imagine, it's possible for you to just pick something back up, even if it's so much as just running around your house and singing or skipping. Oh my God, I love skipping around my house with my dogs. It's so much fun. And just their happy little faces, it just makes me so happy. But when quarantine started, there was just this surge of people just like baking breads, and these artists all deciding to get serious with their artwork. These writers are starting to write more, and these photographers, people picking up photography, and just all of these creative outlets, and people posting their failures. Oh my God, how many bread fails have I seen? But that's so great and so awesome, because that means they're just creating to create. And that's what we need to get back to. I feel like my mental health has thrived since I'd just gotten back to create, just to create. These podcast episodes are, oh my God, they're not even, some of them I'm like, I'm going to put this up, but this is not even a great episode. But I just want to create at this point and just feed my inner child, my inner curiosity, and be okay with the learning process along the way, because I feel like the margin of error for the beast it doesn't allow you to even play around and enjoy the fact that you're feeding this beast. But when you're just creating for the sake of creating, not even for other people's approval, you get a much larger room to mess up. And in this podcast, I get to mess up. In my photography, there's some pieces that'll probably never see the light of day, but I'm so happy that it just created them anyway, because I got to just do it. I got to try something new, and you know what? There are parts of me that were frustrated because it didn't work out too well. But other parts of me are like, you know what? That's fine. That's life. Sometimes things just don't work out well. And that's okay. It's all right, because my inner child is happy. She's thriving, and she's just living. She's kissing the sun. And I feel like that's important for our mental health as well. Kind of along the same lines. I mean, I guess everything's along the same lines, right? That's the whole point of this episode, right? Is just we all talk about one topic. Is I have been indulging in my favorite pastime. So singing, part of that favorite pastime. But even Animal Crossing, okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to feel a great shame. Like after the first week of Animal Crossing, I felt really, really like it was a sin for me to play Animal Crossing, because I felt like I had to earn my time playing Animal Crossing, which is just like bonkers and ridiculous. You don't have to earn relaxation. That's just the idea. I mean, that comes from the beast, that comes from the machine, but you don't have to earn that. And I felt like I had to earn it. And so I felt really, really like, well, if I play Animal Crossing right now, do I deserve to play Animal Crossing? If I take a bath right now, do I really deserve to take a bath? And so I was telling myself that I didn't deserve to indulge in my favorite pastimes, which, no, you deserve to go take your bath, like what? An hour in the tub, 3 hours for me, is not going to kill anybody. Like, go take your bath, go play your Animal Crossing. We ran all over freaking town trying to find this console so I could play Animal Crossing. You bet your god diddly damn ass I'm gonna go play some Animal Crossing. Like, I deserve to go play it. It's fine. It's acceptable. It's totally all right. Like, I don't understand why when my mental health is low, it tells me that I don't deserve to do anything except fix work. That's it. And when I get into that mindset, I can tell, like, girl, you're about to burn out, and it's going to be hard, and it's not going to be great, and it's not going to be pretty, and then you're going to have to spend all this time freaking recovering all over again. Why not avoid that and just allow yourself to have these moments to indulge in your pastimes? And that's what I would want my lover to do. I'd want my lover, I hate the way that I'm phrasing that. It sounds gross. I would want my ideal partner to be like, hey, you want to go play Animal Crossing? Which, sidebar, not really, but like, you know what Randy does? Randy's like, hey, I'm about to play Red Dead. And you know what I do? I grab my blankie, put it over me like I'm a weird, like, like I'm just like all wrapped up like a baby. And I sit and watch him play Red Dead for hours. And I don't even care. Like, it's my favorite thing. And I feel no regret or any guilt about it because I'm doing it with the person I love. Why don't I love myself enough to do it alone? Ooh, she's testifying. Is she not testifying right now? Why do I not love myself enough to indulge in my favorite pastimes alone? Just imagine the Oprah gif of her just being like, well, oh. When your mental health is wavering, it's paramount that you just do the things that you enjoy. You have to, because you have to remind yourself that there is some element and some spark of happiness in this life. You can't just allow yourself to just sink deeper and deeper into this dark hole. Or at least I can't, and if that starts to happen, then therapy. That's what I do. So the last point that I wanted to make was about taking time for me the way I would imagine. I wrote the word lover. And this comes down to in everything. So Randy is a cook. And I'm only using Randy as an example because honestly, he is a good example of this. Randy is a cook, and Randy takes time to cook things. And I am a microwave cooker. And I know that's like for shame, whatever, suck a dick, I don't care. I cook things in the microwave. And that was one of the most horrifying things Randy had ever heard, was that I was just eating microwave food. And I, for a really long time, was totally fine with just eating things out of the microwave. I was totally just fine living in that ignorance in that place. But then I realized there's one recipe that I learned how to cook, shrimp scampi. And I started off making it what I would do back in the day, because I don't really drink anymore. But I would make sure I bought myself a nice, bottle of champagne or something, wine. And I would pour myself a glass and get to cooking, and made it a whole thing, because I hate cooking, but I made it an experience that was taking time. The way that I see Randy make things from scratch, I'm like, man, he turns on music, whether it's via the record player or from his phone, he takes the time. And I'm sure he doesn't enjoy cooking all the time, but he still does it because it's important. It's important to take time and take care of yourself. And I'm only using the cooking example because the cooking example is a prime example of that. But I would want, and I do have, but I would want somebody to take the time to prepare me meals as opposed to me eating something from the microwave. And so then I was like, why don't I just do that for myself, And so then I started figuring out ways to take the time to cook these meals for myself. I take the time to create ambiance, back to the beautifying your space thing. I take the time to create spaces for me that are enjoyable. I take the time to, pick out a record that fits my mood, my ambiance. I take the time to make myself a glass of tea, because I think, especially in the age of social media and quick gratification, we get so caught up in this quickness, the fast-pacedness of everything, that when things do take time, we almost deem it as either just not worth the amount of time, or we're not worth the amount of time, or, oh my God, we just dread it. And that's where the real love comes in. It's like when you get something homemade as opposed to when, a giant factory just ships it out to you. There's love and there's care in that. And it is important that you take the time to light a candle before you make your bath, in which you take the time to pick out a fragrance to put into your bath. It is important that you take the time to maybe spruce yourself up a bit, put on, take that extra step to put on some spritz of perfume. This is a lot of fragrance talking. It is important that you take the time to clean up your home, your space, make it livable to your standards, because everybody's standards are different. It is important that you just take the time and the love and the consideration for yourself, the way that you would want, your restaurant to cook your food. You would want, a house cleaner to clean your house. You would want your hairdresser to do your hair, your nail tech to do your nails. Take that time and put it into yourself and show yourself that you're worth it, and you're worth all of the love that you would want somebody else to give you, that you want your dream anime character to give you, since we're all weeaboos at this point, I guess. And in doing these things, all of these things, there's 5? Yeah, there's 5. And doing all 5 of these things, I've just noticed that my brain space it's much lighter. It's much more pleasant. And when it's not, because I'm not saying I'm happy all the time, because I most certainly am not, but I noticed that even when my brain space is starting to get bad, I now have these things and this relationship that I have been cultivating with myself to help me get out of it. You know, like I have this trust, I have this love, because it really comes down to building, you have to love yourself. It comes down to creating a relationship with yourself that is so close that you can take care of yourself. Because in this quarantine, we are all realizing just how reliant on everybody else we are. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's literally like we're a community. Humans thrive off of community. You should be able to rely on your neighbors. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just literally we physically cannot get out and do these things, or at least I'm not getting out and doing anything yet. Wear your freaking mask. You have to learn how to create that sense of community within yourself and have that sense of trust within yourself and in your own mind. And you do that by dating yourself. You know, you gotta take yourself out. You gotta romance yourself. You know, light some candles, put some petals on the bed, get a little nasty with it, you know? Like, you have to learn how to enjoy yourself without anybody else, and be grateful for your community outside of that. Be grateful. You know, I'm grateful for Randy. I'm grateful for my BFF Savannah. Hot girl. I'm grateful for my mom and my sister, you know, and my dad. They've all been, because I really have been just hunkered down in this house, and I haven't left to do anything except to go to the grocery store and sit in the car while Randy runs errands. Like, I really have done jack shit all outside of my house. And I won't lie, I'm going a little crazy. Like, I'm like, man, I almost wish that I could just drink and have a whole karaoke party in my house. And I totally could, but, you know, it's just not as satisfying doing karaoke without an audience. I'm not gonna lie. Part of the thrill of karaoke is the applause. Okay, I live for the applause. And I guess on that note, I think we are actually going to hit 30 minutes. Woo! And I'm going to end this show right now, but. As usual, I really hope that you are doing well and that you are taking care of yourself. And I really hope that you can find some element of happiness in just anything. I beg of you, there is so much going on right now. So much. And unplug. Please unplug from the internet from every once in a while if you can, and find some element of happiness, whether that's in like a glass of tea or your reflection in the mirror, you know. And until next time, love you, babies. Bye.